In a big move to improve the ease of doing business for the real estate industry, the central government has released a new set of green norms for construction. The norms will provide relief to real estate developers who earlier had to go through the tedious process of taking 100 environmental compliance clearances that would in some cases take up to 3 years. Faster clearances brings down the cost of construction, which in turn could bring down the prices of our dream homes. Deepa Rana gets us his report.
The central government has decided to relax environmental norms. Earlier, the developers had to comply to 100 norms, file them with the state and the centre before they would receive their final environmental clearance. But now, the Urban Development Ministry and the Ministry of Environment have reduced these green norms and revised the green norms and brought them down to a maximum of 23 clearances. The new Green Building Code categorizes projects based on their size. The projects between 5,000 to 20,000 square meters will have to take 9 clearances. Projects between 20,000 square meters to 50,000 square meters will have to take 14 clearances. Projects between 50,000 square meters to 1,50,000 square meters will have to take 23 clearances. Now, coming to the permissions which the developers will have to take includes solid waste management, rainwater harvesting, water drainage system, etc. Also, this will help in enhancing the process, as now the municipal corporations will be the ones giving permissions, which will help in quicker approvals and delivery of projects in time.
So how will this impact the industry? Will approvals get quicker? To answer this and more, we do have Ashutosh Limaye, Head Research at JLL, joining us live here on the news at Magic Bricks Now. Ashutosh, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us over here. Firstly, this is a change the industry has been asking for, for a very long time. What sort of impact, according to you, will this have on the industry?
I think it will be linked to projects which are more than a certain size. I hope so. Not each and every project has to go through this, but I think projects which are big, which are more than a certain size, where I can understand the logic. But by and large, what it means is it will add one more clearance to secure, and if the pertinent agency is not well equipped in India, that is often the case, then it will add to the time that is required for securing permissions, and more time means more holding cost. So the cost of project goes up. So I think such provision or such introduction, if the government intends to make, it should ensure that the competent agency does have the capacity to process the applications within reasonable time, and the agency should be made accountable to process that application and decide on it, either approved or not approved with whatever reason, within a predefined time.
Ashutosh, I wanted to ask you, if like you said, the local authorities are not in a position to handle this new responsibility, will this change do more damage than actually good?
I am supporting the concept of allowing the local agencies and the state agencies to take call on environmental issues for projects of a certain scale. So decentralization is good, but it is good when you have parallel capacity building of those agencies. So I think when those agencies are not well equipped, then more time passes before the approval happens, and during that time the project finances suffer, that's one, but the environmental condition that is to be met with this approval may deteriorate. So I think from that sense, a speedy approval or a decision with good reasons will do good to environment, and if the accountability or the time limit is not set or not followed, then probably it will do harm to the environment.
I wanted to check, as a curious home buyer, will there be a cost benefit for the developer community if this change manages to bring down the time taken to get these approvals?
Most certainly. I think there are two types. One is for some projects there might be some environmental impact assessment that needs to be done on ground, and that takes time. We all understand that. But at times what happens is the competent agency or the committee doesn't meet frequently enough, or simply is loaded with so many proposals that despite doing their best, they are not able to process them on time, and that's why the delay happens. But as the government is saying that it wants to reduce the number of clearances, and at the same time I'm told they are trying their best to build capacity to the agencies, and assuming that the permissions take shorter duration for developers to obtain, very clearly the holding cost will come down. And in today's environment, I think developers will be happy passing on that benefit to consumers as well.
That's right, Ashutosh. That's why I wanted to ask you one last question before letting you go. Tell us, where will we see the largest cost benefit, translate into a price benefit?
No, I don't think any one particular city or market could be considered as the maximum impact receiving micro market, because as you said, it's a national policy. It's going to be applicable to every state, and so far as it's a national policy, it should affect positively or negatively depending on it how well it is implemented to various markets in equal manner.
Ashutosh Limai, Head Research at JLL. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the news on Magic Bricks Now to put that big news into perspective. Now we're sticking to that big story. My colleague Deepa Rana also caught up with Navin Raheja of Raheja Developers and asked him if the government's environmental norms would in fact help the industry. Take a look.
Really speaking, till now 20,000 square meters projects didn't have to go for environment clearance. Now they have included them as well and delegated to urban local bodies. So I personally feel that the norms have been made stricter and everybody has been covered into it. But the norms have been made more clear and I think better in understanding and implementation as well. So overall, if we look at it, it's a welcome step, but it would have been much better that once the government is already talking about single window clearance, if the same norms can be integrated into the master plans and delegated, whether it is for projects up to 20,000 square meters or whether it is projects above 1,50,000 square meters. Actually, we should bring everything towards ease of doing business. But at the same time, we should be looking at long-term sustainability of environment